Weekly's coverage from Comic-Con. I'm Jessica Shaw, here with the creator cast of The Orville. The show I am most excited for, September 10th at 8 on Fox, is the premiere. Welcome to Comic-Con. Is this so exciting to be here? Yes. So basically the premise of the show, it's set several hundred years in the future. It's the USS Orville. Seth, you created the show and you play the captain. The captain who I wrote down is you're nobody's first choice.
Right.
That was one of them. We were lucky enough to see just
on
like
the
a couple
show.
on the show. Yeah,
Right.
Everyone's first choice here. On the show, nobody's first choice.
Yes, which I'm sure you'll find a way to work into some negative review of my work like you always do, but that's okay. That's fine. We love you. That's why we're here. This is a show that's kind of been percolating in my head for a long time, and I've always been a fan of the genre, and the mix of sci-fi and comedy is something that kind of I think has the time has come for people. The audience is there. I think it was the success of things like Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool. People are kind of ready to embrace this kind of Goldilocks zone of those two genres.
Yes, even when I first saw it, I thought Galaxy Quest, which is just one of my favorite movies, and I love that. And
honey, it's much better than that.
Of course. I thought Galaxy Quest, and then I thought McFarlane's going to improve on that. That was where I went. Well, tell us what we're going to see, because there's only been like a little bit of a teaser, and I'm very intrigued by it because it's an hour-long show. And I was kind of, at first I thought it was just going to be a 30-minute show, so I'm guessing there is maybe more of an exploration of relationships and stuff like that. So
it is, yeah. One of the things we look, if we were a half-hour show, you could get away with joke, and just you could be a sitcom. With an hour, there's an obligation to, and not just an obligation, it is a pleasure actually to be able to kind of expand on character relationships, to tell some stories that have a real arc, that really have stakes, that go somewhere, and that's what we've set out to do. We've really set out to draw people in that way beyond the humor every week. And we are an episodic show, which in this day and age is oddly rare, where it's like each week it's its own story. Mm-hmm. It's the same characters every week, but it has a beginning, middle, and end. And you can watch episode 2 and episode 5 back to back, and it's not like you're going to have missed some key thread that you need to enjoy it.
What did you all think when you read the script before you took these roles?
Brilliant.
Loved it. Oh my
That was
God.
one of the best scripts I've read in a long time.
Really?
And completely original. It's not been done.
And Adrian, you play the captain's ex-wife, who's the first officer, and tension.
His better half.
His better half. Ex-better half.
Ex-better half.
Everybody's first choice. Everybody's first choice.
Exactly. So, tell us about that relationship.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's still love between these two people, and she did something horrible ultimately, and they split, and now.
Wait, what did she do?
Well, you're gonna have to wait and find out. Okay. But now she's back, and he has to deal with it in like the most amazing situation of his life. He has kind of this dark thing come over him. But that's part of the relationship I think Seth was talking about. It's the heart that draws you through all of these storylines. It's like, yes, it could be, a procedural, but it's not. It's, you really care about these characters and you want to see, will they or won't they? I mean, there's a little bit of a Ross Rachel thing happening here. So it's like, and between all of the characters, there's so many different relationships.
All the characters, there's a Ross Rachel thing going on?
Absolutely. I really don't know what's going to happen. Some crazy things happen on the ship. So.
I'm a little obsessed with the blob, the kind of gelatinous floor blob, voiced by Norm Macdonald.
Yes.
I kind of need to hear more. How did you come up with that? Was the network like, that's totally normal. Let's have a gelatinous floor blob that talks.
It's a sci-fi show, and budgetary constraints always kind of mandate that sci-fi characters be humanoid, which if you talk to astrophysicists and whatnot, they'll tell you, like, look, most likely nothing will look anything like a human if we ever find life in space. It'll look completely different. So it's nice to kind of populate this world with, where we can, with things that are utterly non-human. And I'm not sure that we've figured out a way to do a CGI character on a weekly basis in a way that fits within a TV budget. We're working on it. But Norm Macdonald, to me, has always been one of the funniest guys alive. And I couldn't really see anyone else doing that.
So what's that phone call like? Are you like, hey Norm? I went like full banana. Like, hey Norm. Yeah. It's 1986, and I'm like, hey Norm, do you want to play Blob?
Yeah. Then he said, sure. That was pretty much, it was like a 10-second phone call.
And that was it. I love it. Deal maker. That's awesome. Jon Favreau directed your pilot. Tell us about that. Yeah.
What a
I was a big fan of him just in general. So when I found out he was doing a pilot, it was just icing on the cake for the project, and to be able to work with everybody here and this guy who I've known for a long time. I had to fight between, just doing the job and also just being a fan, because everybody up here is like, oh, everybody's amazing, and I actually, outside of what I do, like what you do. So it's it's a perk of coming to work.
He really is an actor's director too. I mean, his work. I mean, the other day, like right before we started shooting, happenstantially, like Swingers was on, and I was like, oh man. And then you see him, and like, this is the same guy in this body of work for all these years. But he gets up in there, and he's so kind, he's so gentle, and so generous, and he's attentive and listens, and you just really want to do well. You really want to do well for him, with him, and it's a process, and you feel like very collaborative, and he just really knows what he's doing too, and he's so easy, and funny. And he DJ'd our rap party.
He did. Is he a good DJ?
He's a great DJ. He's like, don't bother him. He's like, don't talk to me. Like,
And by the way, he'll make a grilled cheese on the.
Wait. So Jon Favreau's like directing.
Everything.
He's catering. He's DJing.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so-
And you have like Jonathan Frakes, right? And Brandon Braga directing too. Like, I love that you've got like a theme going on there.
Got a lot of Johns.
Yeah, well, look, it's these. I mean, those people are all from an era of sci-fi where it was a little more aspirational. It was a little more positive. It was a little more fun. I think we're kind of. I am Hunger Games out. I think if I see one more dystopian movie about how bad the future is going to be, I'm just going to kill myself. Like, it's just like enough, and I miss that stuff. And those people all come from that world where that was just what they did. They just found ways to create
It's a comfortable future.
Yeah.
Like, you want to live in the future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even though we take place 400 years ahead of our time, you still deal with all these problems that humanity has, like relationships or
Social issues.
And cultural clashing, like people.
Right.
How do you coexist with a species that has a completely different value and belief system than you? And what's the right and what's the middle ground? So we're all, these are all things that, which is great, because every episode, there's always these real problems that we have to deal with, and there's humor that's laden in there. But I think that's what makes it, gives it gravitas and weight, is that there's some actual things that don't work out so well, like not happy endings and things like that. So I like that we don't.
there are aliens, but it's still very real.
We do live in reality.
But it's also, I think it's an interesting. It's an interesting needle to thread, being really funny, and also, like you said, just having, or like Adrian, you said, like addressing social issues and stuff, which, I imagine that there's a lot going on in our present day planet Earth right now that I'm guessing this is a commentary on. Yes.
But the challenge of sci-fi is to actually come up with original ideas. So every week, these scripts come up with original ideas, which are fun. It's a whole new adventure. That's a huge challenge, which Seth and the team have made easy.
Each episode's like a mini movie.
Yeah, and it's also there's a casualization of sci-fi to me that no one ever does. That whenever I see it, it just sucks me right in. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, you should be able to do a show with nobody. If your characters are set up right, you should be able to do a show that takes place in one room with just 2 or 3 of your characters on the ship, and no space battles, no action, no nothing, and you should be able to sustain it just based on their relationships. And that to me is when sci-fi does it right. And that's what we're trying to do.
Tell me about Charlize Theron being on, that news came out and people were like, going crazy. Is she?
No, you guys leaked it.
My byline wasn't on it.
You tell me what happened.
Wow.
I think they should watch it.
You got that one, Scoop. Get the rest of it.
Oh, are there more guest stars?
No. I can't tell you anything. I can tell you that she's in the show. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic as always.
Is that another one of those like hey, in 10 seconds I'll be on it?
Well, I had I had worked with her on the Western that I
Yeah.
did, and had one of the best experiences of my life, and call and ask her to do the show, and Charlize is awesome. She's the best, and she astonishingly said yes, and yes, I'll come do your little TV show. And she was great. She was fantastic. I can't tell you anything about who she plays. It's all surprise.
Oh,
but
you've
she
told
was
us plenty.
Oh, have I now?
Okay. You've told us plenty. And you guys were on like after football, so clearly that must feel good. No, seriously.
The best night of television.
Yeah. You have this massive lead-in, so it just must be must feel good that clearly the network is into. I mean,
That's my night of TV. I mean,
Right?
I watch
Yeah.
football and then
Yeah,
watch
me
the
too.
show. Even if I wasn't in the show, that would be because by that time I'm sufficiently imbibed and I'm ready to go. And I'm hyped up for
you're
go to
saying
space.
people should watch the show drunk. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Is that what you just said?
I think that's what
It
I
never
said.
hurts to do anything with a little alcohol in it.
Exactly.
Listen, true words have never been spoken. The Orville premieres Sunday, September 10th on 8. So excited for the show. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We'll be back with more Entertainment Weekly coverage from Comic-Con.
Olay's Ultimate Eye Cream. Instant results without paying twice the price. Olay's.
This is Entertainment Weekly's coverage of Comic-Con 2017. I am Kyle Anderson, joined now by several of what I assume are the many voice cast members of the forthcoming video game Call of Duty World War II. Guys, welcome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, please. It's my pleasure entirely. 100%.
All
I don't want
right.
anyone to do the math on that, because I haven't done it either.
Okay.
So Call of Duty World War II, Dave, I want to start with you. What was the pitch to you when they said, we want you to come say some things for a video game? How they actually approach you to say, here's this character you can play?
Well, they approach you. You just get a phone call, and it's this is happening. And I went to my 15-year-old son Ty because I knew he would understand this world a great deal more vividly than I did. So I said to him, so it's Call of Duty, but it's like a zombie bit. And he went, oh yeah, the zombie thing is that's become a big part of the Call of Duty franchise.
It seems like the phrase Nazi zombies is a very fair selling point.
Trips off the tongue,
right?
Nazi zombies, yeah.
Feels natural.
Ty told me in no uncertain terms that this was something I had to be involved in, so I do what my 15-year-old tells me.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
Did everybody else have a 15-year-old advising them?
Not quite yet, no.
No, I got cousins that, and my youngest brother, he's a huge Call of Duty fan, so he gave me the quick lowdown quickly in it. And what I really liked about this game is the fact that it's based on reality, that it is World War II, and the amount of research and the graphics and the amount of history information that's going into the details of even the very little aspects of the game. I think fans are going to be blown away. Anybody who's a history buff, anybody who wants to know the politics behind what happened in World War II, it went as far as even research on what kind of guns they used is pretty incredible. And we play actors or characters in that each one of us has their own different storylines. And something I mentioned in the panel is we get a chance to actually have a strong voice and change our the creative aspect of our character in the process of it. So we have a lot of input.
Oh, so you felt that you really got to develop a character and it wasn't just lines on the page?
Yeah, I don't feel that way. For me personally, just started in the process of, I've done just really one full session. So I'm crazy about they take your likeness and stuff like that. But I've been working with a game developer and really trying to come up with a different spin on it to not only make my character, I play Marie Fisher, who's an engineer, who's born in Germany but moved to Cambridge before, but then also lived in the States. So she's very much ahead of her time in World War II. So she's a very strong character, very intelligent, and a badass too.
Is she based around an actual human?
Well, that's a very good question. I think there's a lot in it in terms of what happens around her and her storyline that is based on reality. Is she based on a real character? You're gonna have to ask the game developers.
Okay.
That.
I'm not gonna do that. That's a good thing to know. Una, what about you? Who do you play in this call?
I play Dr. Straub, and I'm German, so the word Nazi is very much attached to Germans, but I wasn't born that time. And I play it because it's zombies. That's why I accepted it. And
You love zombies?
No, because the story is with zombies. If it would have been with real people, I would not have accepted the role of being a Nazi doctor. And I create, my part is that I create a new kind of soldier who doesn't sleep, who doesn't eat, who never dies. And then also I say, I have done more than that. I created the devil. So being German is a very kind of, I get offers. I only played, for example, I played 3 times Adolf Hitler in comedy. There's a difference between when you play Adolf Hitler living on the moon, trying to attack America. So that's different. But I have never, and I will never, play a serious Nazi.
By the way, I love your accent. I just
the
love
accent
that.
is from Germany. I get offers. I mean, I was a Nazi in the Rob Zombie film Tarantino. I was Iron Skies coming out now. So many films, but they were all comedy.
Right.
So to be a Nazi or play a Nazi over the top, that is also kind of. But to play, I would never play Adolf Hitler or any Nazi in a serious way because I couldn't.
But what's really interesting is the international cast and the different aspects. I'm originally Canadian. I have an American accent. You're from Paris.
Yeah, and I have a French accent.
And a French accent.
French
Scotland,
accent,
is that
I
right?
have a German.
I'm from Scotland, yes.
Scotland.
Yes.
So it's I think the aspects of the game and the gamers and the developers are really trying to make this an international project, and I think that's really says a lot in terms of the fan base being worldwide too.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
And the trailer is amazing.
It's incredible.
Have you seen it?
I have
What do you
seen it.
think?
Well, I get very overwhelmed by those types of games, so all I think is like, well, I'm dying in 10
Yeah,
seconds. Like, there's no way I'm surviving either a real war or a fake digital war that is presented before me.
Have you played before?
But it looks intense. Oh yeah. And I'm always very overwhelmed. But I'm gonna play because I want to hear you guys and these characters develop. Because it sounds like what is the script? When you get a script for a video game, is it different than
Yes.
film or television show?
Did you get a
Yes.
script?
In the beginning, I didn't get a script.
I did not get the whole thing, but
It's lines. Basically, they put us in a box in a room, and then they're like, okay, here are your lines, and then they feed us with the story of our character. So I play Olivia Durand, and she is from the resistance. She enrolled in the French resistance. She is passionate about art. So this is some, they feed you with those elements, and so you can implement them in the way you portray your character. But it's basically, as you're doing it, you're creating it.
I find it a very hard process and a tricky process in terms of to make a game. As actors, we get a script and we can control our image. Here, the image is already somewhat created for you, that we don't have the visual of it, and we're having the voice to match it. If we're lucky in the early stages of the development of it and they're still building it, we can have influence in terms of changing it. But there's a lot of it that is kind of going with the trust of the people that are behind the booth in the voiceover sessions that tell you, okay, now you're getting attacked by 5 zombies, or now you find this secret box that will open up this, and there's things that there has to be a level of trust, and it's a very interesting process, definitely first for me.
And the director knows more, of course. He knows, he wrote it, the writer. And it's like what she says, it's like you have your text, you have a special camera on your head, a little camera, to have all the movement of your face when you say, but they guide you through. But they know more than we do.
Right.
Because we don't know, even today, I don't know where I'm going to go.
I think one of the most challenging, I don't know for you guys, if it was the same, if you had all the running or beating things up and you're in this tiny booth and you have nothing, you're like running on spots, and I'm like doing jumping jacks, my breath would match. I'm like literally trying to do push-ups, like trying to get at least the reality of what your voice should sound like if you're under distress, and just to make it match what they eventually would be. And that is a very tricky process. I actually asked them the other day to bring in like martial art pads so I can like really start hitting them, because that would be
very immersive in this then,
Well, there's 3 stages, if we're getting attacked by zombies,
And like it almost sounds like, and David, maybe you could speak to this. That it almost sounds like there's a bit of a like almost a live theater aspect to it, where you're sort of having to kind of tuck and roll with new surprises.
Well, the thing that's interesting about it is that it's not like you don't follow a linear narrative, because obviously this game depends on how people interact with it and whether they come into a room when they've done another bit of the game, so whether there's zombies there or there's no zombies there. So you have to record lines multiple times depending on where the emotional state of the story will be by the time you get there. So again, it's all quite disjointed as a process, and obviously our job is to make something as real as possible. But it's an unusual one in that you're having to kind of pluck this kind of emotional reality out of thin air, really, because it doesn't follow we're used to following a script that progresses from one scene to another, and these scenes can all be jumbled up and can all be. But it's the future. This is a huge industry, and people like my son, it's the most exciting thing in the world.
It's the most important, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic to be dipping a toe in that pool.
Yeah, and they also have a camera also to try to get your face. They videotape your face doing the lines. I know for the process that I did, they actually originally had a helmet cam with a camera there, so they get your emotions within the eyes, and they have to recreate that. So the technology is blown away. It's the same technology as Avatar, I believe, that they used, and it's just amazing that they can capture your likeness and the emotion of it. So what's great about Call of Duty is what I'm noticing, they're hiring real actors. They're not hiring, just voiceover actors or people that are just in the gaming world. They're really trying to make this as authentic as possible, and I think the fans are going to completely appreciate that and be blown away.
It looks like us.
It does. Did you see your avatar?
I looked at
Some
it.
very attractive soldiers.
Okay, she looks like me, but a little bit sick.
She's a little under the weather.
She's a little sick.
We'll find out how sick you look when
I asked for a brush too.
Tomorrow is November 3rd. Thank you, Elite Cast of Call of Duty World War II. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you. It was fun.
And please stay here for more great coverage from Entertainment Weekly at San Diego Comic-Con.
Crazy mother.
little sweeter in the newly redesigned Hyundai Sonata, our best Sonata ever.
Hey guys, I'm Anthony Bresnikan here at Entertainment Weekly, Comic-Con 2017 with Ernest Cline, author of Ready Player One and co-screenwriter of the movie that Steven Spielberg directed. The trailer just dropped. It's packed with Easter eggs. Ernie can't really tell us the context for some of the scenes. That's still going to be a secret for when the movie comes out,
Right.
March 30th in 2018. But we're going to walk you through some of the pop culture Easter eggs that are in there. So we're going to hit play now.
I dig even just the Warner Brothers logo and Village Roadshow is little same companies that did The Matrix, so a little hint of The Matrix here in just the logos. And then the Amblin logo, my favorite thing. I can't believe that E.T. is in this movie right at the beginning, and Elliot. And here's the stacks.
This is the cover of the book.
I know, brought to life. And here's my man Ty Sheridan as Wade Watts climbing down the stacks, which is also like the image of the cover of the book. And this is him going into his hideout. And this is the photo that you guys showed, so you can kind of see close up all the stuff on his walls that he's studying.
That was a scan of his face, so he looks like himself.
Yeah, it tracks his face, its facial recognition, and it maps his facial expressions onto those of his avatar. And then his Oasis visor and him going into the Oasis. And this shot, oh my gosh, there's so many characters.
Harley and Deadshot?
I know. You can see Gandalf dancing there if you look closely, and these are all a lot of Warner Brothers characters and stuff dancing. I haven't even had a chance to watch it frame by frame yet. And the Iron Giant.
So who's that?
The Dido and Shoto, I believe, characters from the book. And here's the DeLorean doing a drift around the fountain during the race, which makes me so happy. And this is Napoleon on top of a scorpion, and he shoots Freddy Krueger. Boom. Then Duke Nukem. Right? Yeah, that's H. And then Duke Nukem.
So that was Duke Nukem?
Duke Nukem and Freddy Krueger getting shot back to back. Pretty crazy. And there's even, I'm sure, there's already people doing frame by frame breakdowns. So this is the race. You can see Christine from Stephen King. You can also see the Batmobile in the back there. And then once the race starts, here we got the Sixers from IOI climbing into their cars and getting ready to race. I love the way this is cut.
And you've got Rush on the soundtrack.
Rush on the soundtrack. That was Artemis. That was Artemis revving Kanita's bike from Akira. And now you see, and there's Mad Max cars. There's Kanita's bike with Artemis on it. And this is kind of a hyper stylized New York. That gives me. I love that shot. This is the DeLorean transferring to hover mode and dodging wrecking balls, which is amazing. And it's just too much. It's too much for him. And I don't know, is there... And then that's the crystal key.
Crystal key. So that's the key to winning the whole game.
I know, and beautiful. So there it was. And then my title card where I get my name right above my heroes. So pretty amazing.
Awesome, man. How did it feel being out there in Hall H?
Oh my gosh, I was just trying not to embarrass myself. But it's easy to gush about, Steven and all those people that I got to make this movie with. So it was a great experience. That was my first time in Hall H. And it was on stage, so it was pretty overwhelming.
It's been a long run since 2011 with this book, so congratulations.
Thank you so much,
Can't
man.
wait to see more. Ernest Cline, author of Ready Player One. I'm Anthony Bresnikan. Stay tuned for more here at EW.com all weekend long from Comic-Con 2017.
This is Entertainment Weekly's coverage of Comic-Con 2017. I am Kyle Anderson. I'm now joined by the creator and the cast of Stan Against Evil. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you?
Never better.
Fantastic. Never better.
Never.
So this is an unprecedented level of wellness for John Cena.
Right. Well, my proximity to you has never been this close.
There you go. See, look at this guy buttering me up. I like this. We're going to do 3 hours. It's going to be great.
No, we're not.
Congratulations on a phenomenal season 1. Very much looking forward to season 2. I want to actually start at the end. I loved the last episode of this season so incredibly profoundly. And is that that amazing sort of, where Evie had to keep living the same day over and over again? It's just a really remarkable thing. Dana, was that sort of like a bucket list thing for you? Like, was that a thing you knew you wanted to do with this show?
Yeah, I would. When we got the opportunity to do the show, it allowed you to tell all these little stories that you always wanted to do, and I loved the idea. It was originally an idea I had for a movie, that it turned into an episode of the show. It's just basically somebody trapped in a real world video game, and then every time they made a mistake, they would have to go back to the beginning of the game, but then knowing the mistake they made last time, go a little bit further.
Hence the title Level Boss.
Hence the title Level Boss, yeah. And then it sort of became its own thing. But that was the original concept.
That's right. And so for you guys, having to do all those takes over and over again, like was that a particular challenge acting wise?
I thought the way Dana laid it out in the script, you had to just connect the dots. It was so clear, the trajectory of each character in Dana's piece, that if you did your homework and you hewed to the path that Dana had already cut for us, you were golden.
Yeah, nothing to worry about. You had the same experience, Jen?
Well, we also shoot so much stuff out of order that I don't know, it kind of wasn't any different than any other day in some senses, just because we just have to work fast and furious on all of the episodes, and
We do 8
sometimes we jump
episodes
around a
in 4
lot.
weeks and 4 days.
That's madness.
Yeah, some would say this. Some would say
Wow.
But we thrive on it.
It's a production schedule that was begun by a studio called Vivid, and they were able to produce motion pictures in a short amount of time.
Wow. And still works, clearly.
Apparently.
But not without, of course, grueling professionalism. And so I imagine that you guys really have to show up coming to play. Like, John, you must have had the Stan character fully realized day one, right? Like, was he in your bones in episode 1?
No, but Dana provided me with the 8 episodes early enough so I could rehearse it like a play, so that when we did shoot out of sequence, which we do, I could plug in at least chronologically, and then Dana would tweak it, and we'd stay very much on the exact right frequency. But I rehearsed both seasons like a play, and it allowed me to plug in wherever Dana wanted us to.
Yeah. The role of Stan is based on my dad, and my